Hello viewers and my dear students. Namaste to all. Welcome back to Darshana's English class. Today's topic, as you can see, is verbs. My dear children, I am preparing the grammar videos in a theory pattern because that is more important. Only explanation will not help. These all presentations of mine can be noted down by you all or can be downloaded so that you can refer them whenever you feel like that this topic you need to polish again or you need to understand it again. Okay. So verbs, as we all know, are basically doing words or action words. It tells us about the action or state of the subject. It also tells us about feeling, existence, possession and position. Now, I have given the examples for all the 6 types that I have discussed above. Okay, boys fly kites. It's telling the action. I have a large family. It's talking about the state of the subject. She feels happy today is talking about the feeling. Ashoka was a great king is talking about the existence of Ashoka. Rohit has a pen. It's talking about a position. The vase is kept on the table. It's talking about the position. An English verb can be regular or irregular. Now the difference between regular and irregular we'll be discussing. I have tried and given you in a simple form. Please note it. I would again repeat that this, if you note it down or you download the video, it will be very helpful for you all. Regular verbs form their past and past participle forms by adding ed. Examples are given: walk, walked, walked, dance, danced, danced, paint, painted, painted, work, worked, worked. This are never written in capital letter, but because being the first letter, I have mentioned them as capital. Irregular verbs form their past and past participle forms in different ways. So here are the 3 types of irregular verbs. Verbs in which all the 3 forms are the same. Example, put, put and put. Now the second type, verb in which 2 of the 3 forms are the same. Sit, sat, sat. Verbs in which all 3 forms are different. Drink, drank and drunk. Irregular verbs are also known as strong verbs. Now I have mentioned the 9 verbs which are very much common and used very often. Those are go, get, say, see, think, make, take, come and know. These also happen to be among the most commonly used words in English language. The kinds, when we're talking about the verbs in the form of functions, they are categorized into 2 types, main verbs and helping verbs. Helping verbs are also called auxiliaries and they are divided into primary and modals. When we say primary verbs, they are in the form of to be, to do and to have. And modals are these words: shall, will, should, would, may, might, can, could, ought to, need, dare and used to. Now main verbs. Main verbs are the words that show the action or activity of the subject. They can stand alone. For example, read, run, eat, sleep, etc. Now main verbs also are divided into 2 kinds, finite verbs and non-finite. Finite verbs change their forms according to the person, tense and the number of the objects. Example, he reads, I read. Non-finite verbs do not change their forms according to the number, person or tense of the subject. This means they don't show tense, person or number. They don't have any agreement with the subject. Typically, they are the infinite form with and without 2 ing forms and ed forms. Example, going, gone. For to go and go. Okay. For example, she tiptoed around the house so as not to wake anyone. You need to paint the whole cupboard starting from the bottom. So these examples, non-finite and finite verbs, I'll be preparing one more detailed video. But in this, I have just tried to incorporate all the areas of verb. Now auxiliaries, helping verbs, as I said, when we talk about to be verbs, they are am, is, are, was and were. When we talk about to do words, they are does, do and did. When we talk about to have words, it's has, have and had. Primary verbs are be, do and have, as I said. All three take part in the formation of various grammatical constructions, but they don't carry their own meanings, okay? They are auxiliaries in the true sense of being helpers in conveying verbal meanings. Now, for example, be is used to form the progressive tense. The example is given, Radhika is dancing. That is, it helps form a verb phrase which as a whole indicates that Radhika's dancing is going on at that moment. Okay. A secondary use of a primary auxiliary be is found in the formation of passive verbs. The second ed form, as in Pluto was discovered in 1930. Yes, the planet Pluto is being mentioned over here. Now, to be words, as we said, are am, is, are, was and were. Some important things which you should always remember. Am is used with I, is used with he, she and it, are is used with we, you, they, was is used with I, he, she and it, were is used with we, you and they. Okay, so this is very, very important. Please note it down and always remember, okay. Grammar is something which is very tricky and you have to understand and remember those tricks. When used an auxiliary verb, do is always paired up with another verb to create a complete verb phrase. In some cases, it is used to add emphasis. I did put the garbage out. Do is often used to form questions. As we said, to do has, does, do and did. Do and does is used to indicate when a work is carried out or finished, and did is used in the past tense form. Now we talk about the third, to have. This has three verbs, has, have and had. Has is used with singular nouns or pronouns. Have is used with plural nouns and pronouns and is always used with I and you. Yes, children, these are some important points that you have to remember. Grammar is a tricky language. It's a tricky section which helps you develop your English. Okay, so this all important pointers you have to remember and always keep in mind. When used as an auxiliary verb, have is always teamed up with another verb to create a complete verb phrase, making it easy to differentiate between uses. You can see the difference in the sentences below. Raghav has a new storybook. Here, has is the only verb and it's the action verb. The second sentence, Raghav has bought a new video game. Has is an auxiliary verb and bought is a past participle that completes the verb phrase. Priya should have been more careful. Have, auxiliary verb. Phrase should have been expresses time and evaluates Priya's action. Models mainly tell us about the mood of the sentence. They are basically used to express analogy, possibility, permission and obligation. Like can, could, be able to are used to express a variety of ideas. For example, I can help you with that next week. May and might, they are used for formal permission or formal prohibition. You may start your exam now. You may not wear sandals at work. Okay. The third one, shall, should, ought to offer of assistance or polite suggestion when you are quite sure of a positive answer. Okay. These are not used as a question. They are used as suggestions. Shall we go for a walk? This is the word shall and we are using it in the sentence. Shall we go for a walk? You should check the document before you send it out. You ought to have your car serviced before the winter. So these are the examples which are given. Now must, have to, need to. These are for necessity or requirement. You must have a passport to cross the border. Elizabeth has to apply for her visa by March 10th. I need to drop by his room to pick up a book. Now, will and would. Will you please take the trash out? Would you mind if I sat here? You can understand the uses, okay, of the models. Now, when we talk about verbs, keeping the object in mind, there are two types, transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. Some verbs can be used both transitively and intransitively. Verbs used intransitively: birds fly, the horse runs fast, the sun shines. Verbs used transitively: boys fly kites, I ran a race, the sun shines brightly. See, the same verbs, but they are used in a different way. Now, in the next slide, we'll understand what the difference is. Transitive verb. A verb that takes an object is called a transitive verb. For example, Lata sang a song. Now, the object is song, subject is Lata. So, here the verb is taking an object and telling us about the subject. I wrote a letter. Children like sweets. In each of the sentences, the verb takes an object. The object usually answers the question what or whom. So, if you have to identify whether the verb is a transitive or an intransitive verb, you should raise a question for that sentence using what or whom, and you'll get a clear understanding whether it's a transitive verb or an intransitive verb. The gardener was sowing seeds. I have given it in a tabular form so that I don't have to explain it much. But still, I'm reading out the sentences for you because I'm expecting that while I'm reading, you are noting down all this for your reference. My father drove the car. I remembered the song. Ruchita dropped the pen. The teacher stared at me. Now, intransitive verbs. These verbs do not require objects. They express the actions by themselves and make the sense complete. For example, ducks swim. The ship sank. Now, if you notice again in the tabular form, I have given a few examples where the last column is again objects, but I have not given a header to it. Okay. And there are these sentences. If you use it without the object also, it will make sense, and if you use it with object, it will also make sense. We laughed. Few birds flew around. Ritesh sat. Where? Ritesh sat down. The car stopped. When? Suddenly. The lion roars. Now, if you notice, my question that I had asked for the sentence was when and where, and not what and whom. So, please remember what was mentioned in the previous slide, that you have to create a question for your own self, keeping that sentence in mind, and you will automatically understand whether it's a transitive or an intransitive verb. Verbs do not require objects in intransitive, and verbs require objects in transitive verbs. Okay. So, thank you for watching this video. I will be coming up with the next other parts of speech very soon. God bless you all. Stay home, stay safe, my dear children.